my take on the Diribe Welteji 1 mile road run, 4 minutes 20.98 seconds on 1 October 2023. I am Tanis Coralee Leonhardi. This is my YouTube channel, Tanis Leonhardi. This is another one of my athletic performance contextualizations. I am filming this Wednesday, 31 January 2024 as of the Seattle time zone. I'm in the northern suburbs of Seattle, King County, Washington State, United States of America, planet Earth, the original. And here I talk through the Diribe Welteji 1 mile road run race at the 2023 World Athletics Road Running Championships in Riga, Latvia. Time of 4 minutes and 20.98 seconds in the final on Sunday, 1 October 2023. With her time, she achieved a personal best time and a world record. I provide my take/perspective on her performance and contextualize it in terms of world records versus world records by particular ratifying organizations. And the history of the 1 mile road run goes back to at least the 1950s per the documentation I have seen. Yes. So this was a road running championships by World Athletics. Road running competitions, that's like stuff that I just grew up with. Right. So the races they contested were nothing new for road running as a sport, but World Athletics has not really put much resources into road running for its own organization. So this was kind of a new thing for them. And not for the world, not for history, right? Roads have been around for, especially if we include dirt roads, thousands of years, and the 1 mile metric, the 1 mile, the mile, it's been around for thousands of years as well. So, especially in its original form, which is also modern day form, that kind of thing. The 1 mile road run has been around for thousands of years, especially considering it used to be used by militaries, 1 mile time on the road. I think that's still used in the United States Marine sometimes. It's just a basic fitness metric, and it's tracked and recorded and stuff like that. So in terms of tracking the 1 mile run, that goes back hundreds to thousands of years, so it's we're humans, we're bipedal, land animals that reside on land kind of thing. Yes, too much time in water and a person can die from drowning, right? So humans are not residences of the water space. The anatomy does not allow for it. So this, I guess, that's kind of the 1 mile run contextualization. But it was a time. I was in looking at the performances, my personal best time from July 2023, which was a few months before this race, was 4 minutes and 35.99 seconds, and the fastest American in this race that she competed in was 4 minutes and 36 point something, and was I got snubbed by United States of America. Right, that's my nationality. It's where I live. They didn't want me to compete. It's kind of fun when at a world champ my time is faster than that of, the country I hold citizenship to and reside in, at least currently, or not currently, I guess that was back in October 2023, which I was still residing here. It's a weird experience, right, to be faster than the fastest person from the country out there representing the country, and I'm why didn't they just ask? Okay. And so, world records versus world records by particular ratifying organizations. Yes, I thought this was a good one to bring up because when I put in the video description world record, I do not mean world record by a certain organization. I do not mean a good Guinness Book of World Records world record. I do not mean a World Athletics world record. I do not mean a World Aquatics world record. I do not mean whatever. I just mean fastest. So for a speed sport, it'd be fastest time in women's sports history, right? The history, that kind of thing. And so, as opposed to fastest time tracked by a particular organization at a event they ratify world records at. So a lot of governing bodies in sports do not track human history, right? I think a perfect example in 2022 and 2023 was World Aquatics was we don't like you Russians, so we're not going to count any of your times as world records. And of course, there were a few backstrokers that broke world records. One of the times was released publicly. Not all of the times were, just to kind of see what happened. In World Aquatics is like, we're not going to ratify that as a world record. And I'm like, as a human who is dedicated to human history and not neutrality of sport, but like neutrality of approach of like, a governing body, if they genuinely care, will not play politics, right? They'll be like, that human achieved that time, right? For better or for worse. It's I think there could be a separation of tracking of times in like holding sporting competitions, and that might work out well, right? It'd be like, so Russians get banned from a competition. This doesn't exist currently. Russians get banned from a competition. They can hold their own competitions and their times still count as world records. However, that does not necessarily mean they can be in physical proximity to, you know, like if they're in a war with a country, which they've been in wars with a bunch of countries. Doesn't mean they're in physical proximity, right? So a truly sporting organization dedicated to the progress of sport would take an approach of, we're going to track these world records and we're going to count them from everybody, because if those Russians get those world records, you know, maybe they want to compete with these people they're at war with again, so maybe they'll improve, right? So we're going to track their times and count them as world records, because in reality, physical reality, a human kind achievement was just made, right? So it's physical reality. And it might actually transcend sports and help end the war by including everybody, because now the Russians, don't you want to swim that against so-and-so? Right, kind of thing, like an incentivization, which is not what the world, at least World Aquatics, has historically done. They've picked on the Kenyans, they've picked on the Russians, they picked on the Sri Lankans, they've picked on the Germans, they've picked on, you know, like they have a tendency to discriminate based on ethnicity, and nationality and stuff like that. So there is a huge discrepancy in modern times between a world record and a world record by an organization, especially sports governing bodies. They tend to be dirty, right? They're politically motivated, not motivated by or committed to excellence of sports in the fastest times in history. Right? They exclude times by people they don't like or don't care, or just like, it's not on my competition, so it doesn't count. And World Aquatics also did that, right? They were like, if you don't swim, if you're not a junior and you're not swimming at our competition, it doesn't count as a world junior record, which I'm like, to this day, I think there's a lot of people that watch swimming that are like still head scratching. I thought you just had to be a certain age and swim a certain time, right? Like, so it's been eye-opening just how not committed to humankind a lot of organizations are. Right? So that's a competition space that could, there's definite room for the truly dedicated to sport in human history. That's not what sporting governing bodies do, world specifically, especially the ones that call themselves world, right? And then they go and ignore the human kind of feat achievement that's been achieved, fastest time in history, which is a world record, and like would make my autobiography if it mattered to me, but might not be a World Aquatics ratified world record. All right, so it's a way of saying her world record was ratified by World Athletics, but that does not mean somebody elsewhere in the world did not run a faster 1 mile run in Addis Ababa when they were 35 years old, right? And it was a 4:15 and it was a woman, but World Athletics is like, but we like this one, right? She's a teenager, we like her. So then World Athletics counts hers, but not necessarily the homegrown Ethiopian and competing in Ethiopia one. But I don't have that documentation, so a world record as of filming this in my knowledge, right? There we go. Okay, and then the history of the 1 mile road run. So that's a European, so British Isles and ancient like Roman Empire metric. So it's always interesting when people not of those ethnicities like run the race and then want ownership of it, and it's just kind of like, you know, maybe we should introduce, like, there's meters, but maybe we should also introduce, weren't Africans well known for like their astronomy and their mathematics and stuff like that? Maybe we should introduce some of their own race lengths, right? They have different cultures, had different distances. Maybe we should start being inclusive instead of always using European metrics, you know? So that's one thing. Okay, second, all right, this has been used for centuries to thousands of years by militaries for just basic fitness, right? By as just a basic training. Like every runner I knew when I ran track and field, except for maybe one female. I don't know, I didn't ask her, but the rest of it, yeah, we go out on the road every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and run a mile for time to get our mile time. right? This is so standard, so common, right? It's just kind of, it's like, it's always existed as long as roads and the 1 mile has existed. You know, maybe that's part of where it came from. I think in terms of like actual documentation of that, it's just super common. Sometimes things that are super common don't really get documented well. Okay. And so this might be one of those things. I think perhaps the most famous 1 mile run, and so famous it even got antagonized by, in a book I recently read by an American author, it was John Landy, and he was doing a road run for training at night. And part of that road run was a 1 mile road run for time. And this was back in the early 1950s. And some drunk driver pulled over and was like, "Who do you think you are, John Landy?" And it was John Landy. But part of that road run, he was out training, right? Road running. And he did a 1 mile run as part of that set that day. That's at least fairly well known in the running community. It was an interesting one because not everybody brings up the fact that, right, he was doing the 1 mile run, which is kind of like, but that's not entertaining, right? So of course an American author might not put that in a biography, like he was out there doing the 1 mile road run. And not that it would really matter. I think most people understand like the 1 mile road run is not a new race. Right? It's not groundbreaking to include it in a competition. Right? There's those 10K, 5K, 1 mile road run competitions. It might be new at the highest level, but as like a race, no. It's nothing new. So that's kind of cool. She participated, right, in this competition at the highest level. So in that sense, she's helping push this sport forward. And she did well, right? The indoor track 1 mile record is what, 4:13, and the outdoor track is 4:07. So it's about where it should be, so to speak. Depending on what the course is, like with running curves are easier because the person can just kind of lean into the curve and it really helps with forward momentum. So if it's like a straightaway, like a mile of just straight road, the time one might anticipate to be a little bit slower than if somebody can lean into the curve and go a little faster, that kind of thing. So in that sense, that was a solid performance. I am Tanis Coralee Leonhardi. This is my YouTube channel, Tanis Leonhardi, and it's my take on the Diribe Welteji 1 mile road run, 4 minutes, 20.98 seconds from Sunday, 1 October 2020.